When did you realize your tough guy sergeant was actually terrified of something ridiculous? For me, it happened during a 4th of July barbecue at Fort Campbell when I discovered that Sergeant First Class Mike Davis, the toughest man I'd ever met, was absolutely terrified of balloons. This guy was a legend. 22 years in the Army, 3 combat tours, had survived IED explosions and firefights that would break most people. During training, he'd make grown men cry just by looking at them sideways. Davis once broke up a bar fight by walking into the middle of 5 drunk Marines and staring them down. No words, no threats, just pure intimidation. They all backed down and apologized. That's the kind of presence he had. He was built like a linebacker, covered in scars from shrapnel and training accidents, voice like gravel mixed with concrete. When Davis gave an order, you followed it without question because you knew he'd been through hell and earned every stripe on his sleeve. So you can imagine my shock during the company barbecue when things got weird. The event was going great, families everywhere, kids running around, typical military celebration. Someone had set up balloon decorations all around the pavilion. Red, white, and blue balloons tied to every table. Nothing fancy, just regular party balloons from the commissary. I was getting a burger when I noticed Davis standing at the edge of the crowd, staring at the decorations with this strange expression. He looked pale, which was impossible because this man didn't get nervous about anything. I watched him take a step backward when a kid ran past carrying a handful of balloons. That's when a little girl, maybe 5 years old, came up to him. She was holding a bright red balloon and wanted to give it to the nice soldier. Davis went completely white, started backing away like she was holding a live grenade. The kid kept following him, trying to be helpful. "Here's the balloon, mister. Take it!" Davis was actually retreating from a kindergartner. This 6'3" combat veteran was being defeated by a child with a dollar store balloon. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He bumped into a table trying to get away, knocked over some drinks, causing a small commotion. Other soldiers started noticing. The little girl finally caught up to him and held out the balloon. That's when Davis completely lost it. He let out this high-pitched yelp that I'd never heard from him before, jumped backwards so fast he tripped over a folding chair and nearly fell into the potato salad. The balloon slipped from the girl's hand and started floating toward him. Davis actually ran. This decorated combat veteran sprinted across the pavilion like his life depended on it, dodging tables and confused family members. He didn't stop until he was safely inside the headquarters building, watching through the window like the balloons might follow him. The little girl started crying because she thought she'd done something wrong. Later that evening, after the crowd died down, I found Davis sitting alone in his office. Still looked shaken up. I knocked on his door, asked if he was okay. He just stared at me for a long moment. "You didn't see anything out there," he said quietly. Nothing happened. But I was curious now. How does someone who's been shot at by actual enemies become terrified of party balloons? Turns out it started in Afghanistan. Davis had been clearing an abandoned building when he triggered some kind of improvised explosive device. The blast was huge, but what haunted him wasn't the explosion itself. It was the sound right before it went off. A high-pitched squeaking noise like air escaping from something under pressure. Same sound a balloon makes when you stretch the neck or let air out slowly. His brain had connected that specific noise to mortal danger. Every time he heard it, his combat instincts kicked in, telling him to run or take cover. Didn't matter if it was coming from a child's toy or a birthday party decoration. The mind works in mysterious ways, he explained. "I can handle gunfire, explosions, hand-to-hand combat, but put me in a room with balloons and I'm useless. Makes no sense, but that's how it is." We never talked about it again and I never told anyone else. But from that day forward, whenever our unit had celebrations, Davis would mysteriously find urgent paperwork that needed handling indoors. 3 years later, at his retirement ceremony, someone had decorated the entire room with balloons. Davis took one look at the setup, turned to the event coordinator, and said 4 words that perfectly summed up his career. "I'll be outside waiting."